Yeah, you have to go back to streaming.
Exactly. I was planning on doing that on Monday, but here we go.
Sorry to push you in this, but
No,
you're. It looks like you're online,
that's good. Okay. I think
and I can see. Yeah,
people can hear you and people can hear me, so that should be fine. All right, that's a start.
all right, it is.
Okay,
Okay, I can see myself
that's a good
on your
sign.
stream. That's a good sign. Yes, yes,
Okay.
it is. All right, all right. So welcome everyone.
Yeah, Mike.
Uh, so Anya is streaming this one. So if you want to join the stream, then that's her link here, of course. All right. Sorry. We are recording this, and this will be put up on on
Edouard.
YouTube as well afterwards, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, exactly. You plan on doing that.
Cool. Cool. So the plan for today is basically as follows. I have a small presentation, um, or a small talk that I would like to deliver. It's a little bit extra curriculum of a curriculum that is not really defined. So that's um, um, that's what it is. What it is. And then after that, I would just like to show you guys a new tool that I just was able to add to my own tool belt, and that is the GitHub Copilot, which is like an artificial intelligence powered um, uh, pair programming partner. It's basically a very advanced Emmet code snippet generator. It's pretty cool. I took it for a spin this early this morning, first time, and I just wanted to show you a few of these features because it looks really promising in terms of what is possible. But and then after that, Mike and Anya will carry on and do a little bit of coding Q and A's, of course, which is what these sessions are for, um, and you know, answer some questions or code together with you guys or what have you, to recap the things from Tuesday and Thursday, if that's okay. Does that sound like a plan?
Sounds like a very adventurous plan.
Okay, all right. Good stuff. So I usually do this presentation for my bootcamp students. As you know, guys, I'm a coach at a coding bootcamp, which is a totally different experience than the things that we are going through right now. But some of the things that we are presenting in this community training program uh, comes from the bootcamp and my experience of the bootcamp. And so the you know what I usually teach total beginners in the art of software development and becoming a professional software developer rather than just a hobby hacker. And that is a very important distinction for me. Having programming as a hobby is one thing, and that's a great hobby. It's been a hobby of mine for many years before I became a professional developer. But there is a difference in having it as a hobby and having it as a profession, in my opinion. Uh, and once you turn professional, then it is cool to keep it as a hobby, but also to kind of make a separation. When do I do hobby projects and when do I do professional ones? Uh, that's my take on this. We can discuss this, of course, if somebody else have a different opinion. Uh, but if you are a professional developer, I think there are certain things that you need to consider that are uh, not only about technology and your ability to code, but there are some other traits that you should have or should think about um, to have in your profile. And that is what this talk is about. It's not about technology. It's about you or my thoughts on how a professional software developer should kind of behave or something. Uh, and sometimes we start with a quote, and this time we have a long one, really long one. This one is is um, from a sci-fi movie, actually. Um, and it goes like this: a human being should be able to change a diaper, plan an invasion, butcher a hog, con a ship, design a building, write a sonnet, balance accounts, build a wall, set a bone, comfort the dying, take orders, give orders, cooperate, act alone, solve equations, analyze a new problem, pitch manure, program a computer, cook a tasty meal, fight efficiently, and die gallantly. Specialization is for insects, and that's from Starship Troopers. Actually, it's not the best sci-fi movie ever, but it's still a sci-fi movie, which means that I've seen it several times. Uh, and this monologue that he said to his cadets at some point um, is kind of interesting because a software developer needs to have many. You need to be able to do many things, in my opinion, right? You have to be able to do back end, front end, talk to clients, talk to tech people, do DevOps, solve problems, small and big, and so on. And do you want to specialize in one thing a lot only? Well, it's not bad, but I am the kind of guy that would love to. I like to be a jack of many trades, and I like to know a lot about a lot of things, right? So I'm trying to have both a bit of depth and be kind of broad in my profiles. And you are going to have to decide for yourself, of course, uh, what what your specialization should be, or if you want to go broad into the technology field, or if you want to just be pinpointing certain things. Now, but this talk is not only about that. This talk is about the thing, this question: are good coding skills and great tools and great habits enough to become a good programmer? And does soft skills actually matter? Um, and that's a question that you're going to have to answer for yourself. I can only give you my take on this. So what will follow now is, of course, highly opinionated. This is my take on things, and you can take it for what it is, if you like it or not. So one thing that I would always like to start with, what I think is important for a good software developer, is curiosity. You're gonna have to ask yourself if programming truly interests you, and if you want to solve problems with using software or using technology. Um, and if your answer is that it doesn't really, that it's not that super cool or exciting in itself, but rather just a good paying job, then you probably will not excel in this field. And you should probably find something that you can be more passionate about, in my opinion. But if your answer is yes, if you are curious about how technology and software can make the world a more easy place for people to live in and do business in and entertain and so on, then you can definitely move into this field and become a software developer. So curiosity is on top of my list, at least. Uh, I also want to mention autonomy and resourcefulness, your ability to use the resources that are all around you. All the answers to any problem that you might find or might face uh, in your work is somewhere out there. Somebody else has probably encountered a similar situation. Uh, you can find all the answers if you just think about it. If you employ your network, if you are smart enough on how to read documentation and so on. When you have a question, force yourself to Google things. Google is our best friend. Uh, Perhaps even before asking somebody else for the answer. Definitely before you ask your coach, like me, if I'm your coach ever, because most of the answers are actually out there, and you can find them. So save yourself a lot of time and other people time when you um, when you encounter problems, and try to solve it as much as you can, um, by your own accord. Because if you don't develop an ability to solve problems, small and big, by yourself, for yourself, you will never be a successful programmer, in my opinion. Sounds a little negative, but persistence. Recognize that problems are a part of the territory. There is no such thing as a straight line between A and B unless you are watching a tutorial on YouTube that is heavily edited and rehearsed. Everyone encounters problems when they program, and they do typos. They choose the wrong path or make bad decisions that they have to back out of, and so on. Uh, and the problems are not really problems per se, but rather challenges. And every challenge that you face and every challenge that you do overcome will lead to a deeper understanding of the subject matter and will make you better problem solver later on, because there is one single truth out there that I want you to take to your hearts, that we become good at the things that we do. So if you are good at solving problems, or if you solve problems constantly, you will become a good problem solver. But if you talk to yourself saying that things are impossible or things are hard or I will never be able to do this, then you will become good at talking negative to yourself. And then you will start to believe that. And then you will never succeed in this field, in my opinion. So if you give up easily, don't do that, because then you will become good at giving up. But if you are persistent and you keep on fighting, then you will become good at being persistent and keep on fighting, and then you will be a great programmer one day, uh, often before you even know it. Another thing that is important, in my opinion, is your ability to embrace success. Since we know that problems and challenges comes with the territory, you have to embrace success and celebrate your wins when you actually have some. Whenever you do solve a problem that you have struggled with, or you and your parent partner has been struggling with, no matter how small that success is, always take pride in your accomplishment. Let the feeling of that success sink in, and let that feeling energize you and give you strength to move ahead forward, in the and face the next problem that will inevitably come your way. Uh, that is really, really important. You will all, sometimes if you get to know me better, or when you get to know me better and you pair program with me, when I actually have a test that goes green, or if something really works for me, I am happy as a child, at least for a brief moment, because that gives me a lot of energy, and I'm trying to embrace that success. And you know how it is with successes. I usually say that, this a sense of success is like, uh, you know, um, for every success you have 10 failures, and that is definitely true in programming. So you have to let that feeling give you strength and energy for the road ahead. So that is important. Uh, Patience is also important. Uh, there is a lot of things to learn. The map, if we ever take a look at the mind map of a programmer profile from a technology perspective, there are so many things that we have to learn. Backend languages, DevOps, databases, front end stuff, smart contracts, and blockchain technology, and all the new stuff that comes along, right? The journey of programming never ends. Not only do we have technology that changes, the businesses around us and the world around us changes all the time, uh, and we have to adapt. But we need to take pride in the things we do know, and we need to trust that every effort that we undertake in our job and our learning will create a strong foundation, and give us something to stand upon for wherever our careers and our projects takes us. Uh, do not think that you can learn everything and become great at everything you're supposed to do quickly and effortlessly, because that's never going to happen. You will make mistakes. You will be challenged, and that is just a basic fact that is our everyday situation. So we need to be patient and let us. It's a marathon. It's not a sprint. in my opinion. And then we have the other thing that I also cherish a lot, and that is your ability to think a little bit out of the box. Don't always do things the way you've always done them. Let's say you've learned a piece of technology or learned something about how to authenticate authorized users in your systems. And if you just keep on doing the same thing over and over again, you will get stuck and you will get uh, end up with a tunnel vision. So from time to time, you need to spend time on self reflection and take a step back, look at the bigger picture of what you're doing, what technologies you're using, and how you will approach things, and ask you a few questions. What can you do better? Is there anything you can do to make your life easier? And what are you missing that could make you more efficient and could help you in the long run? Try not to be too rigid in your thinking. Try to keep things organized. Your thoughts and your code and your work environment and your workflow, and try to stay focused, but without the tunnel vision that I mentioned before. Think outside the box if possible. And there are so many alternative ways to do things that you would be surprised. And this rigid way of thinking is also something that manifests itself in this constant um, search for right versus wrong that some people have, right? What is the right way to do something, or what is the right way to solve a problem? We often talk about best practices, for instance, in programming. And a word about best practices. Just the name itself implies that it is the best practice, the practice that is accepted by the majority. But it also means in itself that there are other practices that might be not the best ones, but can still be good. There is not just a best and a bad. There could be variations of that. You have to recognize, in my opinion, that there are numerous ways to solve different problems. Uh, and again, if we look at the big picture and imagine different possibilities and different solutions, but also trusting your gut and your instincts, then you will come up with better solutions today than you did yesterday or the week before. Try not to see the end goal of your learning journey in programming as to finding the right solution, but rather a spectrum of solutions, because that will definitely be make you a better programmer if you do that. Details, folks. That's a really important thing. We are in an industry where details matter, especially much. But I would say details matters in life in general. All details matter, and you have to accept that. You will be judged on some seemingly small aspects of your work by your bosses, by your peers, by your clients. And so I would suggest that you always be scanning your code for anything that is out of place, whether it's code formatting, whether it's naming standards, uh, inconsistencies, and so on. Do not gloss over details. Do not overlook the little things, because if you do, then the overall quality of your code will be suffering. And I don't know if you guys listened to the video that I shared from this U.S. Navy admiral earlier today in Slack. But one of the things that he spoke about in that speech of his, this commencement speech, was that he, as a soldier, was always judged by, oh, he started his day by making his bed. And there were some soldiers that never understood why is bed making such an important thing in the Navy. Well, his point was that by making your bed in the morning, you finish one task, and that sense of fulfillment of finishing a very small and seemingly insignificant task will give you energy to move on to the next task and the next task and so on during that particular day. And I think that in itself, without comparing what we do to the army life or the navy life, but I think it's really important that focus on the things you do know, do them well, and if you do that, then you will see that the hard tasks and the complex tasks, they will solve almost themselves, and you will be able to do some pretty amazing stuff if you pay attention to details and find strength in that. So details matter, people. That is my take on this. And recognize also, so this is a little bit outside of those 8 traits, but I usually show this diagram to everyone that I try to coach in programming. And this is a diagram that is a bit simplified. It simplifies or tries to find a little bit of structure in the path of learning. You've probably seen this one in one form or another earlier in your life. Usually when you learn to do something, or before you approach a new topic, you are unconsciously incompetent about the fact that you don't know anything, and that's a pretty warm and cozy place. You just don't give a shit about anything, uh, and that's a pretty cool. You just don't know what it is you don't know anything about. But when you start learning something, you become consciously incompetent about about a subject matter. You know that you don't know how to do something, and it usually bothers you and stresses you a bit. That's not a cozy place. That's usually a very stressful place to be in. And once you get started, whether it's programming or anything else, you become consciously competent. You know that you know something. It takes you some effort to do it, but you can make progress. And once you've done it over and over again, you become unconsciously, sorry, competent. You don't think about it. Nobody of us thinks about how to tie their shoes. Most of us rides a bike without thinking about it, and so on. And that is a very good place to be in, of course, because you just do stuff. Version control for me comes without any effort. I know how to do everything in Git without um, without having to think about it too much. So I'm usually in the blue box or perhaps in the teal box about some more advanced stuff in version control. But there could be things about, let's say, Solidity, smart contracts, where I am very much in the purple one. I get stressed as hell because I know how much there is I don't know about, and some of the things with smart contracts, for instance, since I practiced a bit over the last 2-3 months, are in the teal box. I am consciously competent, at least in the beginning of that, and I kind of shuffle between those two or move between those two boxes, right? And the nature of the game here in programming is that there are so many things we need to consider and so many things we need to do that these 4 stages of learning will be passing them, or be on different stages or in different boxes, uh, depending on what skill we're talking about. And at this stage, I usually talk about, give this example, and this is really important for me. Like, when we are kids, like small toddlers, we just lie there, and the world is pretty simple. Mommy and daddy takes care of us. We are unconsciously incompetent about a lot of things in life. But we do see that the grown-ups, they are fairly mobile. They can move around and pick up stuff and do things, and after a while the kid usually becomes pretty curious um, about how is that even possible. They stand up whereas the kid only lies down all the time. And we try to mimic the grown-ups by trying to stand up or crawl a little bit and stand on our legs, and the skeleton is not strong enough, so we fall down. And after, as the time goes by, we try to take a first step and holding on to a cabinet or a table, and we make progress um, on walking around. And fast forward, I don't know, 6 months, 12 months or something, and the kid usually um, can walk by itself. And along the way, it has fallen down quite a few times. There was a lot of tears. Mommy had to comfort you and so on, right? But after a while, walking becomes an unconscious competence, right? You just walk unless you're heavily intoxicated, then you don't walk. But for most of the time, you don't think about walking. Uh, And the journey takes us from being aware of something, that something is possible, this walking business, until, through some struggle, through some tears, through some physical harm, often, to this unconscious competence stage. And here's my point, and this is a point that I think I just want to make it come across in the journey of programming, because learning to code is a journey that could be painful. You will encounter setbacks. You will find yourself in sessions where several hour passes, you don't make any progress, you feel stupid, and you feel like an imposter and all of that stuff, right? And when that happens, I really want you to think about that kid that learns how to walk when it falls down, when it just doesn't work out, and it's like, the kid might also think that this walking business, it's never gonna, never gonna work out for me. Uh, but there are very few kids, at least not many that I know of, that just sits down on the floor and says to himself or herself, fuck this shit, I don't gonna do this. Walking is not for me. I give up, right? But I bet that you will have that feeling that programming is not for me. I don't want to do this anymore. If you encounter too many setbacks, don't do that, because a setback is only a good thing to take with you so you can become better. You can overcome every obstacle if you really want to do that. If the kids can learn how to walk and alter the skeleton strength after a while, you can definitely learn how to build web-based applications and do a little bit of JavaScripting and coding and whatever. And if you just do this often and often enough, you will find yourself in this blue box on many topics, and you will become great software developers. So I think that's my main takeaway. Never give up. Just as Mirsad said in Slack earlier today, and just as General Raven said in that commencement speech that I linked on Slack, that is my main point. Don't give up. Be persistent. That's what I had for you in terms of that presentation. Any questions? Any reactions? What do you think?
I guess I would be interested to know whether some people I mean, from the summer camp now have experienced that, like over the last, I don't know how long you've been into coding, but I certainly have felt that a lot. A lot of what you said, and we were making jokes in the chat where you were talking that stage one is a bliss.
Oh yes, it is. It is.
Because
It's a fantastically cozy place to be in.
exactly. So yeah, I feel like I'm also something that is probably a like halfway a good sign is I'm starting to understand also what's too much for me. Like just I feel like at like there's a lot of challenges you can take on, but getting to the point where sometimes you know you're like you understand where you are, and you understand that maybe taking on that challenge is maybe a little too much just right now. And I think that's also a good sign that you've made progress, because you kind of start realizing where you're at. So um yeah.
Absolutely. I think that there is so many things, so many interesting things to learn in life in general, and in coding in particular, perhaps, that we just can't do everything. I don't think we can do everything. We need to be a bit selective. Uh, that's what I think. Uh, Mike, what say you? Did I miss any soft skill that is important, or did I cover the whole thing? I don't know if Mike is with us. He's not sharing us. Mirsad, you're a professional developer. Perhaps we can hear your opinion on this.
Yep. A thing that I always tell to friends of mine that want to start into development is you will always be a problem solver. There will always come problems, and you need to solve them. The more problems you encounter, the better you will get at it.
Mm.
And also, the first thing you should get is your black belt in Google Fu. That's the first thing you should be able to learn, how to Google stuff correctly. And there's tons of ways you can do it, but I know there's a Google school that you show you how to search for specific word and everything, and how you should Google. And yeah, so that's like my take on it. And as I said, never give up, because if after you finish that problem, you'll get a self awarding feeling that I did it. I didn't quit. For 2 days ago, I spent 17 hours debugging Circle CI because my React Native build didn't went through. 17 hours later, I fixed it. So yeah, pretty happy about myself.
That's
And that has happened
spirit.
way many times. So, but yeah, never give up. That's the thing that I can tell everybody.
Mm-hmm. That's pretty amazing. That's pretty amazing. And you know, Anya, you've been in streams where I've been, you know, like trying to do something, and the end result was like one line of code after 2 hours. You know, and I think many of you have probably experienced a similar thing. You know, sometimes the quantity of our work is not really reflecting how much work we actually put in that stuff, and that is actually a bit of a problem because there are clients. We will be talking a lot more about client work in other sessions further down the line in this training program. But when you talk to non-technical people, they don't often understand how much work we have to do, you know, underneath the hood, just to produce a very, very small thing that is visible to them, right? And sometimes when we, you know, issue our invoices or we give proposals that, you know, certain things will cost an amount of money, people are going crazy saying that no, that's way too much, or how did you calculate? It's just a small thing, you know, but without understanding how much work comes with that. But yeah. That's another obstacle.
I have a good quote, and people say it only takes you 10 minutes and you want this kind of amount. The thing is that it took, say for example, it took me 25 years to be able to do that in 10 minutes.
Yeah.
So that's
definitely
a good quote.
Definitely. Right. Good stuff. Any other comments on what we just talked about?
Focus on the east. Yeah. I think I like the point about expecting to learn all the time. Like, yeah, we just have to read and 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 practice and read and practice. So, yeah, that's the only way to make us better in this field. So, yeah, I think it's good that we know that we are learning, and just knowing that when we read and practice more, we get that unconscious competent state that we are all yearning for. But there's always that one thing that you don't know, and you have to learn it too. So yeah. That's...
I actually just have an additional question, and that would be, because I get that question a lot at this stage. I know you talk about patience, persistence, etc., which is true. How to know that you're not getting too scattered, you know, like in a way, because I mean, of course, I've been having that a little bit, and I'm wondering whether some other people from now the summer camp have been having that in the past, and what you guys who have more experience think about that and how you go about it.
So that's a very good question. How do you know that you are not all over the place and that you've chosen the right things to focus on? That is actually, in my opinion, one of the hardest thing to know, to validate. And in my opinion, and again, Mirza, I want to hear your thoughts about this as well, and Mike. But in my opinion, I would say do work on projects. Your ability to start something and
Mm,
finish it,
yeah.
that would be validating your decisions on what to practice. Because let's say that you practiced technology a lot, and then you do a project, and all of a sudden technology A is not even in play. Do you
Yeah.
understand? Like
Yeah.
it's not there. It doesn't matter if you can bubble sort an array or whatever, which is
Mm,
something that a lot of employers ask you to do on a whiteboard during the
mm,
recruitment process.
mm-hmm.
And I never do. I don't give a shit, to be honest. I build web-based applications. I need to know a lot of other stuff, but and sorting arrays is not one of them.
Mm-hmm.
Do you understand? And so I would say working projects is the best way to do that. And then the
Mm,
next question would be, so how do I do that? How do I work on real projects when I'm in my in the beginning of my journey to become a professional developer? And my answer to that would be open source projects
yeah.
for real clients, or for the best, the second best, which is like a internal project among friends. Do you understand? Or even your own if you don't have any friends. I don't have any friends. That's why I'm in Agile Ventures, because Agile Ventures is all about reaching out to other nonprofits, asking them, "What do you guys need? Will we
Mm-hmm.
need a membership directory or a system to track whatever?" And we say, "Okay, so we can put together a dev team with beginners, and they can build this for you. It's going to be like going to a hairdresser at the hairdresser school. It might turn out like shit, but
Mm.
at least you get your haircut, you know." And so that's what we kind of do for free for people.
So Agile
Mirza, what
Ventures is for people who have no friends. Did I understand that correctly, or?
Um, oh, I would say that I would have to rephrase that. I need to rethink the elevator pitch for this one.
Yeah, I was gonna
But
say, makes it very sexy. Okay.
no, no, but it is for people who want to practice, who has friends that are not into software development. Or let's say that.
Yeah.
But who wants to work on real projects, because that is the best, by far the best way to learn. And what we're doing here is to set a ground for some theoretical skills, practice them, but then people need to move into project work. That is the best
Mm,
thing.
yeah, definitely. Okay. Yeah, I
Mirza, what would you say about that?
yeah.
Your thoughts on this?
The thing that I wonder, how do you mean with by you feel like scattered? If
Mhm.
you don't know it's back end, front end, or you don't know what technology you want to go into, or
It's just that I guess for my personal situation is I actually want to become a blockchain dev, but blockchain is quite complex still, you know. And the thing, I think the wall that I'm hitting at the moment a little bit is to have a project where I'm not the only one interested to work on it, you know, because if I'm all by myself, I can only go so far, and if no one else is interested in what I'm doing, then the motivation starts to fade when it gets a bit difficult, you know. And that's just the case with blockchain. That's the nature of the thing, that it's a bit difficult, you know. So yeah.
uh, I how can I say this? If you feel like you don't have anybody that you don't want to join what you're doing, we have the thing with internet that you can easily search out way too many groups on Facebook,
Yeah.
social media, on everywhere, Reddit even, and then you will find the people that has the same interest
Hmm.
in blockchain as you.
Yeah, yeah.
I have met many people that I talk to daily over like social media that has the same uh, interest and passion as I have.
Mm-hmm.
And because when if I can say, when I was like 12, when I started my first thing, created HTML, none of my friends did that.
Mm-hmm.
When I was 15, none of my friends did that. when I was 20, none of my friends did that either.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm 36, and I have colleagues that does that. I have some friends that also do it, but
Mm-hmm.
that's the thing. That's when you like turn to internet,
Mm.
and you will find people that have the same passion as you have
Mm-hmm.
for blockchain. And then you say, okay, I have a project, I want to collaborate, create one, post it on Reddit, and then make it
Mm.
open source if you want, and then people will contribute to it.
Mm-hmm.
And the
Yeah.
thing that I learned is create it. A thing that I learned is create it the wrong way, and then people will correct you and
Yeah.
contribute to it.
I've had that already. Actually, I'm very thankful for Twitch. So, I mean, where we are at the moment, because definitely along the projects, I've received a lot of help. And some people interested in, but I just feel like there's a difference between receiving some sort of help here and there and having like an actual partner on a project. So I guess that would be my next move in my personal case, to find a project that's worth building and that I have maybe at least one proper partner that's really interested in pushing through. But yeah. But yeah, I get your point. And
Mm.
definitely
That's in my opinion, that's the social coding part, right? That's what
mm,
we kind of speak about, is like never code alone, code with others. And this, what Mirza just said about, release something open source, and don't be afraid, which is something that many beginners are. And I totally recognize that feeling from my own way of thinking back in the days. It's like, oh, I can't really open source anything, or code in this open process that we talk about in at Agile Ventures, because people might see that I am not good enough.
mm,
Perhaps my function is 20 lines of code. It should only be 4 lines of code, perhaps. But at the end of the day, it doesn't really matter. It is a progression. Now, imagine how shallow wouldn't it be if we could learn everything and code perfectly from day one. If code that I wrote 5 years ago, and when I read it today, would be like, oh wow, Thomas, that was fucking amazing. That would have meant that I haven't progressed in 5 years. That would be a depressing thought. Guys, I read some code from 5 or 6 or 7, 8 years ago that is real nonsense. It's like
mm,
I just grab my head and go like, what was I thinking? That's really shit. And that's just good, because if I can see today that my code from 7 years ago was not good enough, that means that I'm much better today than I was then, and
it
that's a good feeling, actually. So I think social and open coding is the great thing to do. And one argument that I often hear, so let me address this. People say to me that I can't really have a totally open GitHub profile with a lot of code. And so, because let's say my employer looks at it and he finds some of my shitty code, right? Then he would think that I'm really bad at programming. And to that I say, sorry, but that's nonsense. Because what you can tell your future employer is that, look, yeah, that was really bad. I wouldn't write this today. And then you can point out what was actually bad about your own code. And that in itself is a good conversation to have, and would showcase what a great coder you are today, right? And that you made progress since. And again, since I teach people at a boot camp, and the boot camp is 12 weeks, only 12 weeks of coding. And my bootcamp students tell me that, oh, I don't want to show my first project at Craft Academy because it's really shitty and its code is not formatted, bad naming standards, and all of that. And I usually tell them, look, show your future employer, this is where I was 3 months ago. This is where I am today. What a fantastic progress. And now imagine what kind of progress that you can make in next 12 weeks and next 12 weeks and whatever, right? So if you made so much great progress during your first 3 months of coding, then you can probably make even better progress moving on, right? So openness and social coding or collaborative coding is the key to go,
yeah.
in my opinion.
And what you said resonated with someone who is watching Miromashi, who said that he's definitely afraid to show his code because he's always a bit afraid of what people may think. And I think it touches a lot of people who are especially actually who are meant to be good coders because they're perfectionists a little bit, you know, and that's exactly the problem then, that you're just too afraid. But yeah.
Yeah.
I
But
can
it's like,
address that.
yeah,
The thing is that say you have that feeling that you're no, I don't want to show that imposter syndrome, that you don't feel like you're good enough, and you feel like no, I don't want to show my code because I feel like my code is bad. The thing is, if you would have shown that code and then another
Mm.
developer comes in and say, why didn't you do it this way? Because as soon as somebody gives feedback to improve your code, that means that person is doing that to improve you. So
Yeah.
if you never show your code, how would people help you to improve yourself?
Yep. Yeah, and actually, so I did that experiment. I had one project that I did from January to March was actually my first project, and I directly put it on GitHub. Also, like for the matter of learning, because I knew that GitHub is like very used, and so it makes total sense to know right away how to use it and make mistakes, of course, as well. And actually, someone who I think arrest everybody. I think you are even on stream. Arrest everybody who is here on stream jumped onto my GitHub, and he asked, which was really nice. He asked whether it was okay for him to revisit some of my code and help me out, and he did that. And in seeing my code, he actually did an addition that I wasn't managing to do on stream, so that was really lovely. And then he also saw some, let's say, some mistakes, or sometimes even some things that are just maybe not mistakes but need to be improved, you know, on my GitHub, and then made a pull request. And that was really awesome because it's my code, so I'm able to read it much better than I would be able to read any code that I see on the internet, right? Especially as a beginner. I have written this code, and then it starts making much more sense when someone makes some corrections, because you're like, oh yes, okay, now I understand that people have mentioned this and that, but now I get it, you know. So that was definitely an awesome experience as well, about sharing the code. And I
the only place on the internet where code is like where there are some unpleasant comments, that you know, that's actually Stack Overflow. I've never
oh
seen anyone I've
okay.
never seen anyone leave a bad comment on GitHub, like, hey, your code sucks, or you're stupid, or anything like that. Like on GitHub, that never happens. Whereas on Stack Overflow, people downvote, people can be right straight up nasty. I use Stack Overflow a lot, in, you know, when I search for answers and so on, but I rarely post anything. I might come across as a tough guy, but I'm truly scared of Stack Overflow. It's like, I would never post anything over there. Mirza, do you have any experience? Does anybody else have any experience from Stack Overflow?
Yeah, my Stack Overflow experience when I first had a Stack Overflow was that stupid question. That's a duplicate and downvoted and everything. I didn't understand why. And then later on, I understood that okay, those people are often like gatekeepers. They don't represent like the most of the community because they feel like this is my domain, this is where I'm really good at, and if your code is stupid, I won't even bother to help you. But that's not how it should be, because it should be like you Google all those steps, and then you come to Stack Overflow. If you took the time to post your question there on Stack Overflow, then people that see it should understand that this is that person who guaranteed tried the best of his or her knowledge to fix this problem, but they can't do it. And then I know Stack Overflow noticed that the whole Stack Overflow community was so toxic that they started to add more like safe guards, saying that this user is new, please be gentle
Be
and
gentle,
explain. Yes,
Hmm.
yeah, they said that. So every time there's a new question, go to like a new question to take the newest, and there's a new user, you automatically see a pop-up saying this user is new, be gentle. And then I also had, I think it's after, I don't know, like you have been answering a couple of questions. I think you go over 1,000 or something in reputation. Then you will start getting into the different programs where you can rate and comment answers and questions. So that way you will like remove if the question is bad or if somebody have commented a toxic thing.
Yeah.
So I think that they have take steps to prevent that toxicness. But yeah, I know the whole thing that Stack Overflow was way toxic for anything. So you couldn't ask questions because people will just jump on you and say that's a stupid question. Read the documentation. That's what the only thing that would say.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah. I remember when I first posted to Stack Overflow and I got the downvotes, and the bad about it is that when they downvote you, you get those negatives and you're like, I don't want negatives in my life. I don't want to get I don't want to lose points. I want to rise. I want to but also it's both ways. When you get the upvotes, you have that good feeling that you
Oh
actually
yeah,
helped someone, and it's really great that that someone you really don't know and where they're from, and they actually consider your question or your answer with a +1, which is really great. So about that video that you shared earlier, Thomas, it's like the sand cookie thing, where people keep getting a mistake in what you do, but then you just have to keep, it creates that perfectionist in you as well on how you answer questions.
absolutely.
But I think that also like I mean even though it may not be always that nice the Stack Overflow approach, but I think that even I mean they could be doing it in a nicer way, but educating people in asking good questions and doing their research first is I think not a bad thing. I think it's something that makes you more professional. It's just that sometimes, I mean, the tone in which I see some comments is really rough, you know, around the edges. But I guess that's something I learned in my past job. You know, you better think twice before you ask a question still, because you're taking away the time of someone else. And so do your research, especially when you're a junior, do a bit of your research and respect the time also of people who are going through questions and answering them, because there is a reason why some people get pissed when they see a question again and again and they're just like, do your research because I've already answered like 10 times. And you know, I guess it's part of becoming a better programmer, I would say.
I think so too. And one thing, from like a segue, because I think we need to move forward a little bit. We practice a lot of pair programming um, in Agile Ventures, in my company, and at the projects that I do. And a lot of people, and especially a lot of my students at Craft Academy, have very big problems with pair programming initially, and at the end of the 3 months that they spend with us at Craft Academy, they start to love it. Hopefully, guys, you will fall in love with pair programming as well. It is a great uh, it's a great way of working, in my opinion. And talking about pair programming, I got word that GitHub was releasing a new project, new extension to VS Code that is called GitHub Copilot. So I submitted an email and um, and asked to be signed up for the beta program, and I just got an invite, for which I'm very grateful. Of course, it's a technical preview, and so I was able to install it. So I wanted to show you guys a little bit of the future.
Hmm.
And this is a big topic for me actually, because there's a lot of people talking about the fact that in the future programmers will be obsolete, and machines will code everything for us, and so on. I don't know. I don't know what the future holds. Of course, I do believe that programmers need to be able to make decisions on what to build and so on. But that's a different discussion. I would say let's take GitHub Copilot for a spin and see if it brings anything interesting to the table. Okay. So let me just get my terminal up and running, and let's see, where am I? There I am. Right. So let's CD into Agile Ventures. And what do we have here? I think I have some kitchen. Let's see, CD kitchen thing. Oh, right. Yes. So let's just open this in code editor. And hopefully you guys can see my screen properly. Right. This is amazing. This is really cool. So let me just get rid of this. So I have a little bit of just a JavaScript code, and I installed Axios in this small project. I have no code here, but let me just say that I just say const. Right. No, let's not do that first. Let's define a function that will fetch a little bit of users from an API, right? So let me just say const fetch users, right? And then equals and a function, like he gives me, I don't know if you can see that the grayed out, I have some suggestions, so I can just tab my way through this like this. And here, you see what happens on my screen? It gives me suggestions on what I should do using just based on the name of the function. I call the function fetch users, and the suggestion is using the fetch API because that's making a network call, and then it uses then to get the JSON response, right? And so that's pretty smart. But what if I delete this now and require Axios here? So I say const Axios require Axios like this. And if I ask him for some suggestions, then he automatically makes use of Axios. You understand? So I get code for free from GitHub Copilot based on the extensions that I have and based on the name of the function that we are using. And that's pretty amazing. That's AI for you in this sentence, in this context. And so what if I would say that I want to wrap everything in let's say in an object, and I'm going to call it like a module, users equals then this, and then I would say async no, async users, no, get, sorry, no, index, oh shit, right, and he automatically gives me const users await, fetch users, and then return users from that. And then if I would say async show a specific, and then I just create this ID, and then he automatically will give me another code for free that is, well, that was actually not the best one. So let's do that. Open Copilot, and here I can probably accept this solution, format my code like this, and it fetches the users with the ID inserted um, in the string, in the GET request, right? And then if I would say async create, create user, for instance, then he will automatically know that he should make a post request to that endpoint. And so I get code for free, and within just a few seconds, I can get more and more code that is served to me totally for free, based on my previous code style and quality and so on. And to me, that's pretty amazing. So it's Emmet on steroids, in my opinion. And I'm pretty stoked by this, actually.
It is, Thomas. I would just like to point out you can even do even more stuff regarding the automatic stuff, and you can write exactly.
Yeah.
If you try that out and then press enter, I believe.
Right.
And it'll just.
There we go. Something like that. Run the users. Well, I guess it takes a little bit of learning. Yeah. So now he doesn't want to use, because I already have this fetch users. You see this? So he takes into consideration what I already have in this file. But now he wants to create a new fetch users fetch users function based on Axios, because I'm already requiring Axios. There's that. So yeah, but it's pretty amazing. It's pretty amazing. And there was this example. So if I say const calculate days between days, right? You see, and then he just gives me the entire thing for free, based on the name of the function. So he's reading. If you're smart about the naming, right? If you use a naming convention that actually describes what this function is supposed to do, then he can just create the entire function, the entire logic for you. This is actually an example that they were showing in their documentation, so this might be a bit preset, but for me, Copilot is really, really great. I took it for a spin in a React application, and what bothered me a little bit was that most of the suggestions were based on vanilla JavaScript and not on React. Mm-hmm. But I think that Copilot does learn after a while what sort of what sort of code you were using and so on. So it's gonna be amazing. Again, I just got it earlier today, and I thought it was worth showing up. Mirza, do you think this will kill our profession? Perhaps Mirza took a pause. Do you guys think?
Yeah, I think Mirza is on the phone. I don't think so. It's just like I've heard that question so often, either for programming or from my past profession in finance. I just think that it redefines your position in the in the profession. But it's like still not that far as to know when exactly you need that and to do what, and what's the best function to get to where you are. So it just feels like it cuts down all the potentially really easy stuff that you would have figured out by yourself, maybe after maybe half an hour of Googling or whatever. It just presents it to you right away. But I mean, you're still the bigger picture architect, and then you can focus on other stuff, I guess.
Absolutely. So what I have here is a test file in Cypress about sending off an inquiry to the back end using the front end. So if I just start to type describe, there we go. Let's see if he, yeah, no, doesn't want to give me anything. Come on. Why not? He just gave me something. Describe. Come on, why don't you give me? Sometimes he's slow. Oh, doesn't want to give me anything. But early, oh well, he gives me this, you know. So see, I can get a lot of stuff for free based on my code that I already have in my React application. So you can write parts or help me write parts of the test basically for free. Again, I am still the one making decisions, but this guy helps me out heavily on this one.
Yeah. So Thomas, one of us on Twitch has been asking that you introduce an error so we see what Copilot does in that case.
Once again, if I introduce
an error in the code, maybe just do away with one parenthesis. So
right, I think he gets a little lost, to be honest. Let me see if I can. We can switch over to real component. Or do we have any modules? Yeah, we have modules here. Right, so let's say async show right. Right. Let me see how can I introduce some sort of, let's say, let's do this. There's one too many. Yeah. So it's not that intelligent, because sometimes he does introduce, and this is something I need to be careful with, because sometimes he does introduce, I just assume it's a he, it might be a she, I don't know, it's a bot. Introduce one curly bracket too many, for instance, and so on. So what if I do get state like this? No, he doesn't correct me. You see, this is a function that doesn't exist. No, it doesn't really correct me. Right, no. And sometimes it tries to suggest nonsense code. This wouldn't make any, this would be totally irrelevant. So I don't really know if code errors are any good. If it's good to handle that, the regular intelligence kicks in.
What would be interesting is whether, because I understand it kind of bases its learning from GitHub, but what would be really interesting is if there's some sort of feedback loop from people actually using the app, because then you could kind of work on actively improving what this thing is doing, right? And it may cater for that type of issue in the future, which it's not doing yet.
That it could be that. So I think there is a centralized, supercomputer somewhere, that reads all the code that we're writing, and kind of communicates the thing back. So the AI bot constantly improves one way or another based on everyone using it. So it's a little bit of this big brother is watching you code, not on, but I don't know. I think it will improve over time. This is still a pre-release state. But I'm impressed. It is semi-smart. As a pair programming partner, it could be useful.
Awesome.
It could be useful. What do you? So you're back, Mirsad, I see. What do you think about AI enhanced pair programming?
I think it would be a good extra thing to have, because sometimes you know exactly how to type that code and it will just type it for you, and then you just change something because that's like trivial thing to do. And I think it acts like a IntelliSense 2.0 because it
Yeah.
scans your code and it just knows that, okay, this is what I think you want to create. Yeah, it's that, or then you just make it type it for you and then you just fine tune it later. So I think it will be a good benefit for it. But the only thing that I am a little bit concerned is right now they say that they only scan public repos, but as soon as you add GitHub Copilot and you start using it, it will automatically scan your code. How would it be, say, for example, you have like a algorithm that you don't want to share that you're working on, but you still want to use Copilot? Would you be able to opt in for it to scan your code and share that feedback to GitHub? So right now I think they're only trying the features, but later on it'll be more like ethical and stuff, things like that. When it comes to, we should let the user have control and not us have the control.
No, I totally agree.
That would be great. That would be a good thing.
Yeah. Like so definitely just small features like when for instance when I write this in this particular repository, the guys who created it, it's not my project per se, but the guys who created it didn't really import the Cypress stuff correctly, so I was getting errors on that, and I just disabled that with line 1, where I just say ESLint, do not care about the errors in this particular file, right? So I should be able to say Copilot, don't scan this file because it contains proprietary information, my unique algorithms or what have you. So stay the F out of that. Generally speaking, I would say that 99% of our code is not unique, but there are some components that we should protect, of course, and the overall composition, generally speaking, overall composition of how you use certain features is what makes your program unique and used for or fits the purpose for a specific use case, so and yes, one thing I think that Big Linter is making a point, we can never forget that GitHub is nowadays owned by Microsoft, and for many people, including me, Microsoft and some other big tech companies are the devil reincarnated on Earth. So we should be very careful with these folks. But as a feature, it's interesting, and it can speed up my code a lot because, as you were saying, Mirza, I know how to write this, and I have a general understanding of what it should do, and I can just have Copilot write it for me. I can just, with the press of a button, include that. But that is the interesting thing. That brings me back to the original point I was making. Will AI end up replacing us as developers? I don't think so, because this is only useful for people who can read the code that the Copilot suggests and make an informed decision. Which kind of brings us to another point, of course, which is that reading code is extremely important. Reading and understanding what code is doing is extremely important. So apart from coding, writing as much code as possible, reading as much code as possible is a thing that every aspiring developer should practice.
Yep.
But it's cool as a gimmick. I know. I used it earlier today, and I made a little bit of progress on this project actually. So some of this test file, parts of this test file that is written here is written with Copilot or by Copilot and just accepted by me. So that's pretty awesome actually. Right. I guess that's what I had. People, I'm a talker, so you need to tell me to shut up sometimes.
I just have a question.
Thomas.
Sorry. Yeah, go ahead,
Go
Mike.
ahead. Yeah, I just wanted to maybe poke maybe Wagole or Chima or Daniel, if they got anything to add onto the interesting conversation. Yeah, I know they're silent, but yeah, no, they're not shy.
Yeah, so you'll have to forgive me. I'm kind of just recovering from a pretty bad illness. So I'm just trying not to
Sorry.
talk very much. Yeah. But as soon as I'm 100%, I'll be participating a lot more.
That's okay, Shimon. That's okay. And we're glad that you're back on your feet and everything is okay with your health, or that you will become healthy as soon as possible. And welcome to the program.
Thank you.
Well, for me, Dan, finding it interesting, especially going through the 8 traits, I discover is one of the things I need to come up with speed with, because I just found everything like I need to just scrambling and then trying to know where exactly am I and what exactly am I supposed to focus on. So, but I think I'm getting clarity with this and I'm fine. Thanks, Mike, as well.
Absolutely. And Wagole, you raised your hand. Right. If that Anya, you were about to say something also.
Yeah, no, I actually off to the boring stuff actually. Basically to know when the schedule, when would be the next session on Tuesday, or is there anything tomorrow?
So we're gonna run a similar thing tomorrow at 7:30. Well,
Okay.
5:30 UTC, and then Tuesday and then Thursday, of course. But those weekend sessions, as you know, great discussions, and so there's a little bit of extra outside of the program, so we don't all have to be here. Tomorrow I probably be here as well, unfortunately for you guys, because I'm a talker. But I promise to shut up more.
But I'm gonna
but
lean out. I'm gonna lean out of the window a little bit and say that I'll try and practice what you taught us on Thursday, and see whether it works. And then if it doesn't, then maybe you can help me out tomorrow.
yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. But I was thinking that you know, if you, I know that we are nearing the end now, so we've been at it for an hour and a half. I'm done with everything that I was supposed to say. I should have been done already half an hour ago. So I'm gonna drop out anyway. If you guys want to do a little bit more coding, then go ahead. Otherwise, I see you guys tomorrow, basically.
Yeah.
So, and I do monitor Slack, so if there's any questions, fire away. But I'm gonna leave you to it now, just to say goodbyes to everyone. But because my family is also screaming at me and so on. I hope you found this interesting. Sorry for running a little bit over time. I see you guys tomorrow.
Bye.
So long. Cheers.
Bye.
Bye.
Thanks. Bye.
All right. So there's still people in there. Hi. Wagele,
Yeah.
it's cool to have your actually clap clap clap, yeah. Yeah, I was just wondering, Mike, how about you when it comes to time? I was gonna suggest that because I think I would need to practice what well, actually that's a question. Has everyone been very clear on Thursday's session with Thomas so far? Because I'm gonna be honest, I need to redo it. So just honestly asking you guys.
Yeah, I think everything was fine. It was.
Are you referring to the Express.js thing?
Sorry, yeah, the Express.js thing. Wait a minute, guys. So I'm just gonna Random Cyber Michael. I think I'm gonna stop the stream now for tonight, so we can just stay cozy between ourselves for that, I guess. Or yeah, actually, it doesn't matter. Is it fine with you being on stream still? Because yeah,
It's fun for me.
It's
okay,
okay.
okay. So Wagole, what did you say about Express?
That was me actually.
Ah, it was you. I thought I heard Wagole. Uh,
No,
so
no, I
what?
was saying, is that what you're referring to?
Yes, yes.
What
I actually because I guess I was trying to do it as well on the side, but I think I never even got the local host thing to show on my own setup, so I don't know what I had wrong, but if how do you guys feel about practicing? But if for you guys it's fine, then I would just suggest that we meet again tomorrow and I try to figure that out by myself. uh,
I mean, we can all look at it if you want. That's the pair programming part of this whole course, right?
sure.
We can also everyone could use the practice on writing those things instead of just watching Thomas do it.
Exactly. So didn't you guys didn't do it on in parallel? Yes, you did,
I did
right?
it. I did it in parallel. Yeah.
You did.
I did it, but it wouldn't hurt to practice because it was my first time doing anything with Express.
Okay, awesome.
Yeah, I did this too. I played around with it again a bit, changed a few things. Everything was fine, but my tests keep failing. But but the application actually works, but my tests keep failing.
What was your error message, Chima, if you remember, when the tests were failing?
Give me 1 second. Let me see if I can take a look.
Because I had the same problem, and then I realized, I guess because I was coding along, I missed it, that I didn't export my module in the app.js, so that was causing my tests to fail.
Okay, so what it says here is type error, app.listen is not a function.
That would
Yeah.
be that error.
Yeah, that was the
So,
error.
so that's okay. So basically, I'm requiring app, but it's not saying it doesn't, as in there's no app to require. Is that what's happening?
Yeah, pretty much because the app.js does not export. I mean, tell me if it exports, but it probably doesn't export anything yet. And you need to first tell it to export the app that you created. And you do that by typing in module.exports equals app
Oh, for real?
at the end of the app file.
Okay, I had no idea.
That happened to me as well.
Module.export?
Exports. Plural. I can
Export.
type it.
Yeah, okay, please do that.
Oh,
That's it. Module.exports. That's it.
You need to do more. Oh, sorry, I'll type the whole line. Module.exports equals app. I think this is it.
Oh, okay, cool. Oh, right.
So because I haven't used Google Meets, I was just trying out how to share a screen.
oh, awesome. Okay, wait a minute.
It does work.
It works. Okay, awesome. I just had
It was a
Slack.
bit unintuitive for me because it's like you got to go to the button that says present.
So thank you very much. One of my tests just passed, and
That's
yeah.
something.
Yeah, it's an improvement. So since this is corrected, I guess I can take the time to, figure out what else is going on. I'm not a big fan of JavaScript, but I mean, you have to do what you have to do, I suppose.
I feel you. But as a web developer or full stack, you have to do it. Sorry, Pedro.
Yeah, I was just
I
gonna
know.
say, I think part of the curriculum is also Ruby on Rails, but that's, I believe, for the backend, correct? I don't
Yeah,
know about the
Yes,
stack.
there is
Ruby.
some mention. There is some mention of Ruby on Rails.
Yeah, but also I think he will focus on JavaScript for the backend as
Yeah,
well.
I'm
That's why we're
actually
doing
taking this
Express.
course because of the JavaScript, because I probably wouldn't be spending as much time doing JavaScript on my own, but it's easier to do this when, there's something I have to do because it's part of a course.
Yeah.
And as a result, I kind of have to do this. I wouldn't have done this on my own, but, because we have another class on Tuesday, I had to take the time to actually practice this.
Exactly. Oh my God. Yes?
I think his microphone is. So
Yeah, Wagol, your microphone is a little bit low.
Yeah.
Yeah, we can hear you now.
Hello.
Hello.
It's fine now.
Hello,
Yeah.
guys.
Hello.
Good to hear you.
hey, I think we are from the same city with Wagole, so
Really? Which
upstairs. Yeah,
city is it actually?
Kisumu, Kenya.
Kisumu. Okay.
Yeah.
So Wagole, go ahead if you had a question or
I believe he muted himself, but I don't know if it's by mistake or.
oh.
Do you mind? Oh, sorry. He
Are
seems
you
to be
getting
trying
me?
to talk. Yeah, we can hear you.
Oh, so I had a question for Aya.
For me?
You said yes.
Yes.
You said you're doing finance.
In the
Why are you going for Express and then you're focusing on finance?
so why I'm not sure if I understood the question. Yes, I was working in finance in the past.
I
Oh,
think
so as in, my question was,
Mhm.
why are you want to know as in to learn Node instead of learning Python when you're focusing on finance?
No, I'm not focusing on finance. Finance is what I was working on, what I was working in the past. Right now, I actually want to become a full stack developer with like the niche of blockchain. That's what I would want to do.
Okay. Oh, now I get you now. Okay.
What about you? Or
Oh, sorry.
Chima, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. So, real quick, I just wanted to get your opinions with regards to the co-pilots that he just showed us. I'm very unfamiliar with working with other teams because anytime I do any coding, it's pretty much on my own. So, would you say that, in a sense, has anybody here used frameworks like Rails? I know this is a dumb question, but I just want to know if everyone here is already familiar with Rails. Okay, yeah, because
So I am.
okay, so would you say that seeing this Copilot thing kind of is like the first time you saw like a framework that kind of already assumes a few things and kind of just puts those things in place for you, and then you can manipulate them as you please to fit what you're trying to do?
Well, I haven't used Copilot, but I think the problem is sometimes it doesn't necessarily do correct syntax, so I wouldn't compare it that way. I wouldn't compare it to a framework that does convention over configuration.
Okay, I see.
Was my first time today seeing Copilot in action also.
All right. So basically, if you don't know what you're doing, there's a bigger chance of screwing things up.
That's my opinion.
Okay, so nah, I don't think it's changing anything. I don't think developers are going anywhere because of things like Copilots, if that's the case.
Yeah, it's not going to replace us. No, we still need someone who knows what's going on or how things should be.
It will make it easier to some extent if you do know what you're doing, I suppose. It'll save you some time.
So for someone like me who's not a fast typer and who, I guess it would make me faster at coding, probably. Yeah.
All right.
So Carl, yeah,
Yeah,
sorry.
it definitely just saves the copy paste time, because normally you'd go copy then paste and stuff like that, but now just press tab and it's there. So
All right, then
you'll do 2 projects in the time of one. Yeah.
I suppose if you're still concerned about errors in your code, it's probably safer to still do the copy and paste.
Probably, but you saw it's pretty accurate.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I suppose.
So
Yep.
yeah, so
So back to you, Anya. Yeah.
yeah, no, I was just gonna say I'm still trying to access the documents, but I think my computer is on overload with the streaming and the Google Meets and whatever, so no chance. No chance of getting back to the tutorial of what we saw yesterday. Slack keeps crashing.
So who has access to the Google Docs? Just Anya and Mike, right? Because, for example, the slides from today, I don't know if Thomas will share that in Slack later.
I was wondering, I can't really, my Slack is crashing all the time, but wasn't it in the Work the Web
Sorry, I looked
channel?
now and now I saw it, yeah. It's like I talked first and then
No, it's okay. It's okay. I think it's open to anyone. It's just I can't access my Slack right now. So
my Slack actually froze earlier. I had to restart it.
yeah, it's just not responding for me yet. But I think the computer
there.
it's just a little too
It's
much.
there. I just downloaded it.
Yeah. Because in that case, I mean, depending if you guys have more questions or want to chat still, then I think I would just stop the stream and just work on it up until tomorrow, so that for tomorrow's session I could ask Thomas or any of you guys who are around if I still had some problems. That's what I would do.
Okay.
But yeah, let me know if you have anything you wanted to chat about or ask or.
Yeah, I think probably we are a little bit over time, and
Yeah.
we will maybe just turn off the stream and yeah, because I'm also dropping soon anyway, and Carl is dropping.
Yeah, I also gotta leave in 10 minutes. But I
Yeah.
didn't want to like influence anyone else if you guys wanted to continue.
Yeah, it's getting too late here as well, so
Yeah.
I'm gonna drop. Yeah.
Okay, awesome. So let's do that and meet tomorrow. And yeah, let's get into some practice tomorrow, I guess. Let's push Thomas.
Yeah.
Let's push Thomas.
Yeah, I think probably also we can plan on Slack if you need any earlier pair programming session before
Yeah.
time, just so you don't waste so much time, yet someone else can.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you're saying to just drop a message if you want to pair program with someone in the Slack.
Yeah. Just reach out and we can do a stream or something. So
that's awesome.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
All right.
All right, so guys, good night.
Good
Yeah, good
night.
night.
Nice to chat with you all.
All right.
Likewise.
Have a great
All right.
rest.
Thank you. All right. Thank you. Bye.
Bye. Oh, what is happening?